Let's move on now to some other right-wing figures who were just gushing or defending or very impressed with Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. And it is absolutely fascinating to see how the standards that the right demands be applied to the U.S.-Mexico border, the very same right ignores in the context of Putin ignoring the sovereignty of Ukrainian borders, even though there are numerous accords that say actually Russia has to respect the Ukrainian borders. And you really have to see this to believe it. Yesterday, we looked at clips from the day before in which Tucker Carlson softly defended Putin's invasion by saying Ukraine's not even really a democracy, and ignoring the fact that when it came to the U.S.-Mexico border, Tucker sang a very different tune. Well, now we have more examples. Candace Owens now says, listen, if we just listened to Putin, we'd know that this is actually not really Putin's wrongdoing. Candace Owens tweeting yesterday, quote, I suggest every American who wants to know what's actually going on in Russia and Ukraine read this transcript of Putin's address. As I've said for months, NATO, under direction from the United States, is violating previous agreements and expanding eastward. We are at fault. Now, multiple things there, okay? First of all, Candace Owens is saying, just read the transcript. She's basically saying, listen to, but if you don't speak Russian, you have to read a translated transcript. Just listen. If you want to know the truth, listen to what Putin said 2 nights ago. Anybody who saw that and had a transcript with them that they read along, which I did, should immediately recognize that it was a confused, disheveled, all over the place Putin, rambling nonsensically and completely failing to justify in any legal or moral way his invasion of Ukraine. But Candace Owens is saying, just listen to what the authoritarian said and take him at his word, and then you'll understand what's going on. That's number one. Number two, I've already told you, they are falsely repeating this idea that NATO is violating agreements by expanding eastward. I've already talked to you guys about this, and you can go back and look at my clip from last week about this. It is not true. It is not true that NATO had committed to not expand eastward. There was initially a verbal discussion made during negotiations decades ago about NATO not expanding eastward and not ever considering adding Ukraine. Those were never codified, and they were removed before anything was signed. Now, we can have a reasonable conversation about, if you're Russia, do you consider the eastward expansion of NATO and the consideration of maybe someday Ukraine will be part of NATO? If you're Russia, could you consider that a form of aggression? Sure, we can have, that's absolutely something we can do. But this idea that NATO is just in the wrong here, there was an agreement. There was no such agreement. Next, let's go to Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk sort of also softly runs interference for Putin by saying, I don't know, guys. I mean, maybe it's an invasion, maybe it's not, but they seem to kind of be welcoming Putin there.
Why does Putin feel so empowered? The entire Western world is putting sanctions right now on Russia as they call this an invasion. Very well might be. I'm not the person to determine whether or not this is an invasion or an annexation. It feels as if Putin is going into places that want him. They have voted overwhelmingly to be part of it. It's a family dispute that we shouldn't get in the midst of, that's for certain. But why does Putin feel as if now's the perfect time?
Right.
Well, he definitely waited for the Olympics to be over, for all the cheaters on his team that weren't even on the Russian Federation team. It was the Russian Olympic Committee to be over with. He didn't want the spectacle in the midst of the Olympics. He did annex Crimea after the Olympics in either 2006 or 2010. He has a tendency to do this right after the Olympics or make big moves after that.
That was 2014.
Actually, Georgia was after the Olympics. We'll get those dates figured out. But why does Putin feel so, let's say, compelled at this particular moment to move? Why even get close to this? So in a time when the entire planet is locked down due to the Chinese coronavirus, finally the world is reopening. there's one number in particular that Vladimir Putin is looking at that his entire economy is organized behind, and that is the petrodollar.
Okay. So consider that Charlie Kirk from Turning Point USA has been ranting for years about Mexico must respect our borders. They are our borders. They are internationally valid. They must be respected. But Putin doesn't have to respect Ukraine's borders, even though there are actual agreements saying you have to respect Ukraine's borders. Come on, guys. Come on. And then lastly, here's sort of a bonus. This is Fox and Friends. Fox and Friends actually, they admit Putin is doing a bad boy, but they say it's Joe Biden's fault.
Putin is calling those troops peacekeepers. That's the phrase
under the
he's
guise
using.
of peacekeepers.
One man's invader is another man's peacekeeper. But these two breakaway regions have been disputed for 8 years. They're not really breakaway. They were taken along the same time when Crimea was taken. Also, and frankly, the reason that it's so precarious for Ukraine is even Belarus on the northern part. It's controlled by Russia. So on all
But look
on
how
three
big
sides,
that thing is.
Yeah, but they don't
Ukraine
control.
is gigantic. It's the second biggest country in that part of the world.
The breadbasket, and those Donbass region has huge energy resources, manufacturing resources. It's been coveted by Vladimir Putin. And if you listen to what he said, I mean, the words he used in that speech were no different than any other autocrat of the Soviet Union.
True. I mean, so far they're basically right here.
That's what he wants to reestablish.
He's got one playbook, and
the first step.
he's gone to it again. The Putin playbook. He's done this before when he went into when everything happened with Georgia back in the day.
The experts are wondering if he's going to stop with these regions, and they worry he wants to go farther and farther and then eventually take over the Black Sea. China and Taiwan are watching. He knows how Biden handled Afghanistan. That was a disaster. He also lost 2 embassies. He's lost the Afghanistan embassy, and now the Ukrainian embassy has moved to Poland. When he was vice president, Benghazi happened. And even we know that...
That's why this is happening, guys. It's because Benghazi happened when Biden was VP and Biden left Afghanistan. So now that's why Putin is doing this. So no matter what, this is either something that's fine or it's something that's not fine and it's Joe Biden's fault. That's the analysis from right-wing media. We'll have these clips on our Instagram, which you can find at David Pakman Show. As someone who watches YouTube, you know how annoying it is to watch ads at the beginning of videos that are completely irrelevant to the content you're watching. That's why you always click the skip ad button. Our sponsor, Thought Leaders, has just launched a new targeting tool that allows advertisers to choose the precise videos where their ads will appear. Using the advanced search in the Thought Leaders platform, which is powered by AI, you can actually find YouTube videos relevant to your brand's messaging. And with Thought Leaders precision targeting, you can really make every view count, optimize your ad spend, improve your conversions. When brands put their ads on relevant videos, they catch their audience when they are most receptive and create a more fulfilling, enjoyable YouTube experience for everyone involved. Plans start at just $60 a month, but you can try it now for just $30 for the first month when you click the link below and use the code PACMAN at checkout.